Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Developer Dynasty here on our Wolverine Studios Twitch channel. It's been a minute since we've been online here on Twitch with our Developer Dynasty. We've had a lot of work going on after the releases of the pro game. The time frame gets very short to work on the college games, so we've really been buckling down and getting that done. But now that today is the official launch for Draft Day Sports College Football 2022, we wanted to hold a special stream here. So I've got the developer and creator of College Football 2022, Brooks, with me in the room here. Brooks, say hello to everybody for me.
Hi guys, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we are really excited for this year's versions of the college games. Um, one thing with the college games is we always, a lot of work first and foremost goes into the pro games, and then we are able to take some of those things from the pro games and port them over to the college games as well, so that that kind of becomes the basis for the new features and things that we add, and then we can build college specific things onto there. So a lot of the things that you might have really liked in Pro Football 22 or in Pro Basketball 22, those things will come to the college games automatically, and then there's new stuff on top of that, which is still new stuff for the game. So there's a lot of things that you'll kind of discover as you go through playing the game that you might not have realized or seen as touted as a new feature, but it's still something new to the game, even though it debuted in the pro game first. So one of those things that was a big thing here is the ability for conference realignment. So I've got a save here that is on the end season stage of the game. So if you go to the league structure tab, you'll see this page here. So when I advance to the start of the new season, then there should be a conference realignment button that pops up here. And I guess while that's loading and I get ready to show off, Brooks, what's the big news here in the conference realignment section?
Yeah, so we've toyed with this for a while. The scheduling for these kinds of things is really difficult to code, but we kind of kept the college game closer to real life counterparts and wanted to make sure that we had the right you know semblance of conferences, the right setup of teams, realistic schedules, all those kinds of things. So we've been resistant to just open it up for complete customization because we were just concerned that it wouldn't play as well, that most people just wanted it to work out of the box and didn't really want to mess with this kind of thing. But going into next year, in the real world, there's a bunch of stuff that's going to be changing, and we've had enough requests over the last couple of years, coupled with the changes that we're not going to be able to foresee in the future. I felt it was time to go ahead and take another look at being able to realign. So we did two things. We changed the conference scheduling within the engine to be a little bit more generic. So it's not tied specifically to any real life conference at all. It's actually a little bit more generic. But by doing that, we were able to set it up where all of these conferences that you see on the screen, you're able to set the formats for, and in addition, you can move teams around if you'd like. So it allows you to change the sizes of the conferences, which changes their internal scheduling, and it also allows you to move teams to the different conferences, just like real world happens. You want to move Texas and those folks to the SEC, that kind of thing. Depending on how what teams you follow, what things are happening this year, what things will happen next year, what happens in years to come. This will allow you to do that. We set the max conference size up to 16 teams. In future versions, we may be able to adjust that even more. But I figured this many conferences with 16 teams gives a pretty healthy number of teams in the game if you need it. So yeah, so this was a big thing that we wanted to get in there so that folks could kind of kind of follow along, or we have yet to see what people are going to do with this, whether they use it to stick in sync with real life, or whether they come up with brand new structures or throwback structures, or just custom things for whatever particular leagues they may want to run using the college universe. So I'm excited to have this in there.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea that people can kind of design their own universe. I know there's people who want something similar to come to the college basketball game, and I've got a basic swap there, but nothing as detailed as this. This is kind of breaking new ground for us here, just with the ability to really customize this to however you want to set up your game world. Whether I know personally as a fan of the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten divisions are kind of set up poorly with so many good teams in one and no good teams in the other. So I might get in there and switch it around a little bit. But I think it's great that you're giving everybody the opportunity to kind of set things up how they want, or if they want to try to replicate the real world, they can do that too.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what people do with this. I know there are a lot of folks that want to recreate seasons from the 80s or whatever. I mean, there's so many different options that we've enabled with that feature that I'm excited. So hopefully we get some reports back from folks on how they like it and what they choose to do with it. We need to read those stories.
Yep. So outside of being able to realign conferences, of course, one of the things I noticed when we were moving through the screens here is this new addition that I've pulled up here on the league media screen, which is under the recruiting tab here. It's very colorful. It's very bright. Why don't you kind of explain to everybody what we're looking at on this screen now this year?
So this screen is a prime example of why we love beta testing and why we love first access. This screen, someone else in the community that's been playing our games for a while asked if we could come up with something similar to these rankings. They wanted to be able to see how the different teams fared with finding particular positions at certain, just like a top 10 overview. They'd found it somewhere, and they really liked the way that the data was presented. And so during the first access period, I was able to add that screen in there. We also added this additional listing so that you can go back through and see kind of your team summary of what your signings were for the past season, because some of this data can kind of get lost depending on what screens you're at, or how quickly you're going through the seasons and that kind of thing. So having all this data in this fun visual format with the top 10 rankings by position for recruits, and then showing a recap of what recruits you were able to sign is it was a great ask. It was not something that was super difficult. It was a good idea. I thought I liked the way that it was put together, and so we were able to do it. And we encourage folks. There's some folks who sign up for first access because they want the game early. There's some that might like the discount, and then there's some that want to join in and help shape the game a little bit right at the last the last couple of weeks before we launched. So this was a good example of where that worked out well, and we were able to get some of these things in for them.
Yeah, I think I really like this screen too, because this was, obviously you said it was something from first access, so it wasn't something that I was that I had kind of seen as the game was developing. It's so colorful and just pops out at you and gives you a great grid style look at kind of who did the best in the league at each position in terms of recruiting, and then being able to drop down to the details and see the details for every single team and in terms of who they recruited. I think that is a brilliant addition to the game. And again, it's like you said, that's what we do in first access. It's giving people an opportunity to not only get a discount and play early, but we get great ideas from our community. And we both really appreciate everybody in the community who provides us the feedback and those details. We've said it over and over again on the Developer Dynasty streams that we need those ideas. We like getting them. We take them all seriously. We try to work in the best ones that we can, and sometimes we get some really cool stuff that comes out of ideas from the community, like this particular page.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good feedback this time around. The more people played, the more they started getting into the screens. They were able to generate a lot of really neat ideas this time around. So kudos to those guys for sharing their ideas with us. And I think the game's better for it.
So one of the things that is really a big thing in college athletics is kind of the emphasis and focus on the coaches themselves. Um, much more so than in pro sports, the coaches in college a lot of times are the stars. And I've noticed that there are a lot of new coach related features in the game this year. One of them that I really like that we've got in a version in college basketball is the coaching pipelines for recruiting. So, I've pulled up a head coach card here, and everybody can see at the top here. There's both a trait that we want to talk about and a pipeline. And in this case, the pipeline lists OK and AR here as states where the coach has established a pipeline. So, Brooks, why don't you talk about this new recruiting pipeline feature to the game and kind of how it impacts things in terms of recruiting?
Yeah, the coach page has got some interesting stuff that we added to it. So coaches now have a home state, which gives them basically an internal automatic pipeline to that state, which makes hiring your head coach a little bit more important if you want to, get a little bit of extra edge in recruiting. Um, the coaches also have traits, which are explained elsewhere in the UI. We've got different traits that we've added. We'll probably have more traits that we'll add in the future, which affects their recruiting, affects their coaching, affects, different aspects of the coach and how it works in the engine itself. And then we have pipelines, there are coach pipelines, there are home state pipelines, obviously that are automatic, and then there are team pipelines. So depending on how well your coach recruits in a particular area, depending on how often a team signs kids from certain areas, you will get pipelines set up for those teams and for those coaches, which will then convert into you know slight bonuses for recruiting kids in those areas. So the longer you recruit from somewhere, the more kids you sign, the higher level kids that you sign from particular states, then you kind of get a reputation as being a good coach to recruit those areas. So we've set it up where the coaches get those pipelines. You can see it on the screen, which should help. Again, make it a little bit more immersive, a little bit more realistic with how these coaches are signed, how they behave, how they affect your teams, and that kind of thing. The other thing we did on that coach page is updated a lot of the statistics for the coaches. So you'll see we've updated the list a little bit more to show kind of their records and how their prestige has evolved over time. We just improved the look of those things a little bit more than they were before. So you could see the different jobs that a coach has had over the years. You could see how their recruiting ranks and the team ranks and that kind of thing, as well as any postseason playoffs, conference championships. That was a gap that we had where we weren't tracking college, conference championships for different screens. So we were able to clean some of this up a little bit, add a little bit more data here. And when you start getting coaches that are going for multiple decades, this screen's really fun to look at and see how they evolve over time and how the teams improve and decline and improve and that kind of thing over the years. It's a neat add as well.
Yep, and I think that one of the things that I really like about our style of games is that the further you get on, the more history that gets built, and all of that stuff is tracked here. So you really begin to form your own universe, and the ability to track. In the college game, obviously it's tough to track players through a career because they're there only for a few seasons. But of course, with both of our college games, you can link them to our pro games, and you can send them forward into the pros and continue their careers out here. But for the coaches in college sports, it's so much fun to track, where they started and what jobs they've moved to, and things like that. And there is new features here. And I pulled up the search page to look at the active coaches here. But there's this and a coach watch list that's new to the game this year, Brooks. So why don't you kind of talk about how we can track coaches through their careers now?
Yeah, we didn't have a very good way of finding coaches from other teams. It was tedious. You had to click on every team and go look at the staff and that kind of thing. So we decided to add the coaches to this list so that you're able to kind of see their their current positions, the experience, their schemes, their ratings, that kind of thing with the team that they're with. It's just makes it easier to see. If you were thinking about maybe hiring a coach or wanted to target a specific one, or you wanted to follow a coach to see how their career went, you can add them to the watch list, which makes it easier to find them in the future, and that kind of thing. So we've always had a pretty decent list of players to be able to track them, but this makes it a little bit more fun to be able to track your favorite coaches, and especially since, like you said, a player may get 4, maybe 5 seasons, whereas a coach could be multiple decades. So being able to see them all here, um, it's helpful. It's a nice feature. It's a nice way to be able to go back and see those guys.
Yeah, I really like the concept of kind of being able to look, at their careers and compare them to, maybe how you're doing, or how, another guy that you really like in there is doing. And there's more. I've pulled up the league leaders page. There's a coach stats page here as well, so that you can track things here easily, and kind of check out, wins and losses, bowl wins, conference championships, national championships, and things like that in this area. So, I really like what you did with the coaches this year, Brooks, because it's really added another layer to the game.
I agree. I we will constantly evolve this kind of thing. There's different things and different reasons that people play our pro game, and there are different reasons and different preferences that people play with the college games. So the college, we felt like we'd lacked a little bit of attention on the coaches. So we were having fun adding this kind of stuff back in, or I was anyway. And yeah, with the pipelines and the traits, and more tracking, more data, more stats, keeping track of wins, and being able to see all that a little easier than you could before. I mean, the first thing I did after I built this screen was I kicked off a couple of 30 and 50-year sims, just because I wanted to see what it would look like. How long are coaches staying in the game? What kind of stats are they generating? Does it look realistic? Is it interesting to see the old timers go for 30, 40 years and see how they do. So I even enjoyed it, and I was in the middle of building it. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun for folks.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that, a good reason to do these developer dynasties, and to do the videos here that we can put on YouTube for people to look at later on, is that we get to cover a lot of things that, you know, it's hard to make it as a feature list of something, with all these things here that they're not giant, huge, standout features, but all put together, all these little additions and stuff like that, it really makes the game get even deeper, that you don't even realize until I think you get in and start playing. I think that it really, you really have to get in here and look at all this stuff. The recruiting page, there's so much to do in recruiting, and I pulled up a season here that is during the regular season, so you could look at recruiting. Kind of talk about, since this is such an important part of the game, some of the new stuff and additions or changes that have to come to this page here.
Yeah, so this page we just polished it up a little bit. We haven't added a lot of changes to this, other than it's just a little bit more pleasing to the eye. We changed interest up a little bit, so instead of being a 1 to 100 number, we've kind of batched it up into different categories of interest, similar to how the college basketball game is. Um, just because the numbers specifically don't mean anything. What means something is the differences in the levels that you get to, whether you're at a low or medium or high or whatever. So we've changed some things like that to make it a little easier to understand. Transfers have been a huge change over the last year or two in college football, and I know there's some passionate folks in our discussions and in our forums that they really want to see what we can do with the transfer portal. And I was hesitant with it because I don't fully know what's going to happen in real life, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time modeling how the game would work when real life is still they're still figuring things out there too. So we have increased the number of transfers within the game. Um, we've at least doubled it, if not a little bit more than doubled it, to get more movement of players between teams. So that makes this screen also important when you get to the end of the season, and after the season flips, the transfers will show up here, and it's a big land grab trying to grab the best transfers that you can. So it's it's in there. There's still some work that we could do on it. There's still some tweaks we could make to it, but we definitely put some effort into it just because we realized that the college landscape in the real world is changing, and we don't want to get too far behind on it. So that was one of the major things that we did. The transfer rules did change, so we do have some options under the league options where you can either play with the legacy rules of what they were a couple of years ago, or you can switch over to the new rules that as they work today, where kids can transfer and immediately be available to play. Um, so yeah, we did try and do some of this. We added a cutscene. So after signing day, you'll get a cutscene that kind of shows the top 5 recruiting classes, the particular top recruit that they got, which will be interesting for any of those last minute recruits that didn't sign before you actually click signing day. You'll be able to see who they signed with. And anytime we can add cutscenes and some visual interest there, the better. It makes the game more entertaining to me. So I was happy to add some of those. So those are some of the key things that we did with recruiting and transfers specifically.
And then, of course, there was a lot of work that went into the engine in Pro Football 22 with different coverages and different things like that. That stuff and some new stuff as well has come to the college game, right? Like the RPO options and other things to kind of make the engine even better than it was before.
We did a lot of work in pro football, specifically around player behaviors on defense, the way they were doing zone coverages, the way that just the decision making that the AI was doing for defenders and that. So we've ported all of that into college so that they get the same benefits of the work that we did on the pro game. So you'll see the defenses will change, in some cases change dramatically from CF21 to CF22. So that got pushed in. But alongside of that, we added RPOs because folks wanted to be able to run an RPO type play. So we've added a new play type for RPO. It was not, it's a specific play now. It's a specific play type that's tracked differently because that was the main way I came up with to be able to do this. So you'll see RPOs show up. Some are more effective, some are less. They're brand new plays, so there may be things we can improve on there depending on how people use them and what the feedback is. And then we've also added some new motion into the play creators. So there are some folks on the beta team and on our first access team that were helping me create new plays that take advantage of all this stuff. They helped me create a whole slew of RPOs. They helped me create a bunch of plays that take advantage of motion. They're still working on them, but shout out to those guys. They know who they are. It's adding another level of excitement into the game for me because it's one of the first times in the last few seasons we've been able to add completely new play types and add new plays with the motion that we're adding in. So you'll be able to get plays that handle um, like the end around type of plays and the pistol formation kind of plays and all of that stuff is stuff that we want to try and get in there. So we've uh, we've put all that in. The plays are in the game now. They're being used by folks. They've been tinkering on them for a while. I don't think we're done. I think we do have another batch of plays that we'll be tweaking and putting in the game in the future. So keep your eyes on it. Give us some feedback on how well the plays work. Do we like the way that they turned out, or do they still need some um, additional work on them? But yeah, we're excited because it does make it more interesting when you have more plays that mimic real life and uh, more options for the player to create these things. So,
Yep, I pull up the custom play page and I'm just scrolling through and I mean, there's just tons and tons of options here. If you love football and like the X's and O's of it, you could spend all day in here in the custom playbook before you even get to the recruiting and the playing and the coaching and all that kind of stuff. You could spend forever in here uh, you know, creating whatever you think it could be the next great, play or a play that would fit your specific team. The options here are so much, and of course, if you're not huge into football and the X's and O's, and you're kind of just more of a casual fan, you don't have to get into any of this. There's plenty of things that you can use from the default that will, work just fine. You can just kind of play at a much higher level. But for the people who really want to get in here and get into to the details and design all these plays and playbooks and things like that, I mean, there's just an amazing amount of options here for you to be able to create offensive and then of course defensive plays as well.
yeah, there are some intricacies with the motion and with the RPO and that kind of thing. So some of it made its way into the custom play designer. Some of it won't. Some of the custom plays won't show the right chalkboard drawings because the motion kind of throws it out of whack a little bit. So there's going to be some growing pains with some of that stuff. But in general, yeah, the plays, like I said, we try to add as many as we could to the default play set so that it's not only within the custom playbook creator that you need to do these. You'll actually have access to them um, by default. So yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun getting involved. I know some of the guys have been asking for some more play formations and play types and play behaviors for a while. So it was fun getting those in there and letting them test them out and see how they looked with the 2D view of the plays and all that stuff. So
And again, for the people who are members of our community, you don't have to be. I know with some communities, there's kind of like, only a small group of people get their voice heard. I mean, all you gotta do is get involved playing the game. Post on our forums, on our Slack channels, contact us. If you've got good ideas, if you've got things that can be done to the game, we're happy to listen to you, talk to you, talk about your ideas, and like Brooke said, he's just got more and more guys saying that they want some more plays, they want this, and he's just doing his best to add them in there, and just it expands the game every single version. And I know the game itself. The last year's version was a light mode. We went to a dark UI this year, and people want to say, okay, well, so you changed the UI. What everything looks the same, everything's in the same spot, stuff like that. That's the idea. We don't want you to get a game and have to start all over from scratch every year, figuring out where things are, how they work. Where did this button go, stuff like that. We want the game and all of our games to look similar, so that if you like college football and you want to jump in and try pro basketball, you can go in and kind of have all the buttons in the same place and know what you're looking for. That's the whole idea behind having a uniform interface look and stuff like that. And I think it looks great. A lot of people think it looks great. So there's no reason to make big sweeping changes to those things. It's all the stuff that we've kind of been over in the course of this stream. That's what's making each version better than the last one. All the details, the adding new plays, the recruiting pipelines, the coach tracking, all this kind of stuff that it may not be a big billboard type feature, but it enhances the game in each version. All of these small changes add up to big things in each new version.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk for another half hour, another hour, and we'd still miss things that we put in. And I coded the stuff,
Yeah.
and I still forget what all I put in. So the keys are that we never really know what features are going to excite the users. There's things that excite me that I want to see in the game that I think are fun, and obviously those we'll put in. There's stuff that Asger wants to work on that he enjoys that he'll put in that he thinks are improvements to the game. But we never really know what's going to land well with the end users. And what we've found, or at least what I've found, is that it all lands. It all makes somebody happy in some form or fashion. There's always a feature that one person, might think is a top tier new ad, and someone else looks at it and goes, okay, that's nice, but doesn't really excite me because I don't play the game that way or whatever. But this other thing that you weren't impressed with, I really like because I really think this is a good add to the game. So we try and get a lot of different things in based off of the feedback. We want to know, for people who are playing it in career mode, or the people who are just, you know, 25-year simmers, or the people who want to play every game out, or the people who want to track coaches, right? We want to try and make it accessible for everybody, and make it, an improvement every year. And if, we do that and folks, like the game, then they'll buy the version. And if they don't feel like they got enough in that particular version to make them pull the trigger, then they may skip a season or whatever. And but all we ask is that you let us know, what did you like about it, what don't you like, what do we need to spend more attention on, and that kind of thing, so that the next time around, or in a patch, or in a first access, or in a new version, we're able to tackle some more of those things. One of those particular features for this is, we call it the fog of war. A lot of games have had this kind of concept for a long time. This isn't anything new, but the ability to change and obfuscate the ratings so that you can't tell what the kids' true ratings are. Like, we normally use a 1 to 100 rating for all of the individual skills, and we use a 1 to 100 rating for overall. And in this particular, last version, we made it ability to, or we gave the user the ability to customize overalls. So if they wanted to hide them, or if they wanted to tailor them to be higher or lower or whatever, they would be able to do that. This version, we went all in on fog level, which is the ability to change the, the rating scale. So internally, the numbers are all still the same. It's still a 1 to 100, and we couldn't change the engine, but we did change all the displays everywhere, so that if you want to change your fog level, if you don't want to rate them on 1 to 100, if you want to rate them on 1 to 5, you can do that now. It makes it really, really challenging, because you have to pay a lot more attention to how the kids are performing on the field. You have to pay attention to emails and what your coaches may say about players. The foggier it gets, the harder it is to really pinpoint, is this guy a 79 speed, or is he an 80, or is he a 79, or is he a 99? Right there, the foggier it gets, the harder it is to actually make those determinations. And some folks have been asking for this for a while, and it's a great feature for them, because they want to play the game with a little bit more difficulty, or a little bit harder to gauge how good a particular player is going to be. And so we were able to add that in. It will make its way into the pro game eventually, because I know people would love to do it there as well. And so yeah, so we added the fog of war in, because I agree, it's going to be another avenue that some folks, not everybody, but some folks are really going to want to change that, just because it gives them a different way of playing the game, and a different way of looking at things. So we're really excited about that particular feature as well.
Yeah, and you can see I change it to the 1 to 5 and come back to the roster, and now it's everybody almost looks the same because they're only 1 through 5. But like you said, once you start playing, you're going to have to look at the stats. You're going to have to look at those emails to kind of really figure out who's who's playing well and who's not, because 1-4 might look great and 1-4 might look terrible out there. So you kind of got to take a good look at what's going on, just as opposed to looking simply at a rating. So I think that's another really smart and really fun addition to the game this year. What was your favorite new thing, Brooks, in this year's version?
I kind of like the Fog of War. I think that one is, yeah, boy, it's hard. It's like trying to pick your favorite child. I like the Fog of War because I could really see people who play like career mode and really wanting to get real immersive and like, oh, I just want to look at this kid's traits and I don't want to know that he's a 99 speed. I want to be able to figure that out. I want to put him on the field. I want to I want to see how this. I want to try him at a position as a freshman. I want to let him get on the field a little bit. Let's see how fast he is, right? That kind of thing. I can really see people enjoying that kind of way of playing the game. So I really like that feature. But a close one for me is the coach tracking. Like I said, the first thing I did was sim a 30, 40, 50-year season just to see what happens. Because they're that's fun to be able to see who the leaders are, who the coaches are that win a lot of championships, how well the coaches do. Running longer term sims and checking the coaches to see them progressing from offensive or defensive coordinators at small schools up to head coaches, at small schools up to head coaches, at large schools. That kind of thing it's a lot of fun to see and to follow some of those guys. So yeah, those are a couple of my favorites. But again, there's so much here that even I'm forgetting about, that the game just keeps getting better every year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just it's a lot of fun. Even unfortunately, we don't get a ton of time to actually play the games. And especially playing each other's games and stuff like that. But I love taking the opportunity to go through and kind of see what you've done with each new version, see what I could pick off for my own the basketball versions and stuff like that, and kind of meld the two together and really just make things better every single year. So I thank you for the time tonight. We've had about a 40-minute stream, so a little bit longer than normal, but with the busyness going into this, we didn't have any opportunities to do streams prior to launch, so I was glad we could take the opportunity tonight to do it. For anybody out there, the game is fully available now from our website. If you like to play on Steam, the version is available at Steam as well, starting today. If you want to try it out, if you're completely new to the game, if you have the 2021 version, you want to see how much new stuff there is to decide if you want to get on the 2022 version, go to our website. There's no demo at Steam. You have to go to our website, wolverinestudios.com. Click the free demo link there and scroll down and choose College Football 2022. You put your name and email in, and you get the link to play the demo. It is the fully functional 7-day trial. Check it out, and when you're ready to buy, you just go to the store, purchase the license key, come right back, put it in, and the whole game's unlocked. You don't have to download anything else. You don't have to restart. You can just keep playing from where you left off. But absolutely, if you want to check it out, don't take our words for it. Go to wolverinestudios.com, grab the free demo, play it, love it, go to the web store, and get your copy. Brooks, fantastic job again this season. Thank you for all of your hard work and for coming on and doing the Dev Dynasty tonight. I really appreciate that, and you've done it again. Another great year of football games here at Wolverine Studios.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Make sure you, like I said, go buy the game. If you want to check it out, go get that demo. And then if you're already part of the community and doing, mods or feedbacks or Dynasty reports or anything, just be part of the community. Welcome to everybody doing that. If you're new, welcome to our games. Welcome to, kind of what we're doing here. And I think you're going to really love what we have to offer at Wolverine Studios, because we're focused on our games, we're focused on our community, and we're focused on giving you the best experience possible for franchise mode in our football and basketball games. So definitely grab that demo, check it out, and then we'll see you in the web store. We will be back. We'll get a Dev Dynasty going for all you college basketball fans, because first access will be starting up for that soon, and then of course the release next month for all you college hoop fans. But today's all about college football. Great job on the release as always, Brooks, and thanks everybody for your support coming out to the stream here. We'll see you around our Slack channels and forums and social media, talking all about what a great experience you're going to have with college football 2022. Thanks everybody, and have a great night.